Welcome back to Code with Clinton. This is video number 3 of the e-commerce website to Django. So in this video, I'm going to enable users how to cart by themselves. Something like this. Click on the cart button. The cart gets up. I have an item in the cart. I'm going to add the t-shirts. The cart gets updated. I have 2 items. So click on the cart icon. So we're on the cart page now. You can increase the quantity, the total price here gets updated, the cart's total gets updated, and my cart up here also gets updated. So let's try that. Perfect. You see it's working. I have 3 items in the cart now, and my total price here is also got updated. It's now 36.35. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to work on this home page and on the cart page. So without further ado, we are getting started right now. What I want to do is this. I want to simply passing the ID of this product to their add to cart button. I want to pass the ID of the product to their add to cart button. After doing that, I'm going to send the ID of those products to the backend. So let's do that. Now I'm going to go down to my store.html. So now I'm going to create defaults. I'm going to create custom attributes. I'm going to call this one data. So to create custom attributes in HTML, you're going to put in the data hyphen the name of the attribute you want to create. I'm going to say data hyphen products. Okay, I'm going to pass in the product ID as the value of this attribute I created. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to do this right now. Put this in the, make sure it's in the string. I'm going to say products.id. So I'm going to create another attribute called action. So I'm going to give this a value of add. I'm going to call this action. Equal to this. I'm going to get the value of add. So save your work. I'm also going to add a class to this a tag. I want to pick up. I'm going to add a class to this a. I'm going to call it add to cart. Yes, add to cart. So save your work now. So now I'm going to pick up this a tag. I'm going to create a JavaScript file, and pick up this a tag through this class name I created here, add to cart. So let's create this. We're going to create our JavaScript file in our static folder. JavaScript is a static file, so we're going to create it in the static folder. So let's do that right now. Okay, folder called JS. Okay, folder called JS in the static folder. Not this one, should be this. Okay, create this folder called JS. So instead of this JS folder, I'm also going to do this, or like, what is it called again? I'm going to create a file called carts.js instead. So let's do that right now. Carts.js. So my JS file has been created, carts.js, in the JS folder, and the JS folder is in the static folder. So we need to link this our JS file called carts.js. We need to link it to the base.html, which is the parent template. So now I've already linked my here, and see how you're gonna link yours. Remember, gonna put in the static folder here, just like do a link CSS, then your JS folder and the name of your carts.js, and it should be the last. It should be exactly before the closing body tag. Understand? So now that I've done this, I'm gonna loop through those add to cart button. Remember, I gave them a class of add to cart. I'm gonna pick up these buttons by this class name and then loop through them. So let's do that now. So I'm gonna simply say let's btn. I'm gonna call the buttons btns equal to document dot get elements by class name add to cart. So that's it now. So I'm going to loop through this btns because I'm looping through it because I want to add an event listener to it, a click event. So I'm going to say for let I equal to 0, I is going to be less than btn dot length I plus plus. So what I simply did is that I just tried looping through the buttons we have here. The first one an index of 0, and I said I is less than btn dot length. Btn dot length is 6 because the button here is 6. So now I plus plus means that 0 is going to increment to 1, 2, 3, 4, and ends at 5. It's not going to be equal to 6 because the condition says that I is lesser than btn dot length. So now I'm going to pick up this button. Now I'm going to say btn I dot add event listener. I'm going to add a click event to this button. Stand a click event. So I want to get the ID I pass to them. So I'm going to put in this function. Whenever I click on the button, this function is going to get executed. So this is what I want to do now. For the product, I'm going to call this variable called let's product ID equal to this. This is just like Python self. It refers to the individual button. These data sets dot products. I'm going to do the same thing for let action. These dot data set dot products are not product ID. And let action equal to this dot data set dot action. So I want to console.log the product ID, console.log product ID. Let's see if we are correct. So save now. So I'm going to get onto my browser terminal. Simply press F12 on your keyboard. You get to your browser's terminal. Okay, I'm on the browser's console. It is called console and not terminal. So now I'm going to click on on one of the button. So I click on the first button and it's giving me an ID of 1. That ID is coming from the product. So I'm going to click on the second button, give me an it's giving me an ID of 2, and the ID is from the products, you understand? So that's a product ID. So I'm going to send this ID to the back end, you understand? So let's see how we can do that. So now I've gotten the IDs. So what I want to do is this. I want to check if the user is logged in. So this is how I'm going to do it right now. So I'm going to do it like this. I'll simply write an if statement up here. So I'll simply say if user is equal to, but before I do this, I need to declare user. I need to create this variable in the base.html. So let's go do that right there. So I'm going to scroll up to I think I need to scroll up to where I have to the head section. I think I will create a script over here. Script tag. Just here, I'm going to create that variable called user. I'm going to say let user equal to this, to the logged in user, request.user. So save now. Let's go down to the cat.js now. So you're going to say if user is equal to anonymous user, anonymous. This Django way of saying a user that is not logged in. So if user is equal to anonymous user, so I'm going to put this in the parentheses. I want to simply say I want to simply console.log user is not logged in. It's not logged in. Okay, now so what I'm going to do now, else if the user is logged in, I'm going to run a function. I'm going to call this function update cats. I'm going to give it these two variables as the arguments, product ID and action. So now I'm going to create this function called update cards. I'm going to create it down here. Function update cards. I'm going to give it ID as a parameter and action. These are the parameters. Understand? So now what I'm going to do is that I want to send the ID of the products to the backend, and the action, this should be called action. I want to send it to the backend. So I'm going to create a view I want to send it to. If user is not logged in, you're going to simply console.log user not logged in. But if the user is logged in, a function is going to get executed. You can see else. And the function now, what I'm trying to create here, well, if I do that, I said I want to send the ID, this ID product, I want to send a product ID to the backend, right? So I'm going to create a view that's going to receive this ID, you understand? So I'm going to create a view. I'm going to call this view updates cards. My view is coming up. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. I'll call this view updates cards. I'm going to give it requests, and now I'll simply return a JSON response. JSON response. A JSON response saying cards updated. So now I'm going to create a safe equal to false. So save. So I'm going to import JSON response from Django.http from Django.http imports JSON response. So now that's what I want to do now. So I'm going to create a URL mapping for this view. Let's do that. To see, paste here. I'm going to call this updates cards. Updates cards and views dots. The name of our view function updates cards, and the dynamic name should be called updates card. So save now. So I'm gonna move down to that link. I'm gonna say slash what's going on, 001 slash updates. So let's see what's gonna provide. So enter. So should give us a JSON response. It said update and not store. Oh, something is wrong here. Updates. Enter. Our server is down. You can see it says, okay, I spelled my function wrongly. So small u, Control X. So refresh the page. It's called update cards and not updates. So enter. Something is wrong. Let's see our URL mapping. Control C. Update cards. So let's see the views. .py again. So save this. Let's move down to our browser. Refresh. I guess the problem is that /enter. So you can see now we're having update cards on the screen. That's it, because that / we're having here at the last / is causing the error. So it has been removed now. So we're going to send, as I was saying, we're going to send the ID of the product to that particular view. We're going to use the fetch API from JavaScript. So this is what we're going to do here. So I'm going to simply say let's URL be equal to what we created. That's update cat URL. So I'm going to save this. We're going to fetch this URL. This URL, we are trying to push some data to this particular URL. We're going to simply fetch the URL this created here. I'm going to say URL comma. So we're going to put in the method. We're going to use a post method because we're trying to post to that URL. So it's going to be a post method. Okay, after that, we're going to create the headers, which is going to be equal to this. It's going to have content type. It's going to be a JSON format, right? Content type should be equal to application slash JSON. Okay, after I've done this, now we're going to create our body. The data we are trying to send to the view. It's going to be equal to this. We're trying to send these data to the view, the product ID and the action, and that's what we have here. We have them here. They are the parameters here. So I'm going to simply say over here, I'll simply do this product ID is equal to the ID we have here, and the action is going to go to action. And what I want to do now, we are going to paste, we are going to post a string value. So I'm going to convert this to a string by saying JSON.stringify. So this ID and the action we have here, are what we also have here, because on the function that is being called here, you can see they're having the ID, which is this, and the action, which is this up here also. So now what I'm going to do is this. Now I'm going to convert this to a string because it's an object currently, so I need to stringify it. I'll simply say JSON.stringify. So that I'm going to save my work now. And that's now, what was this? A promise has to be returned. After we've done this, a promise will be returned. So I'm going to simply say I'm going to convert this back. I'm going to convert our response to a JSON data by doing this dots then response going to be equal to this. It's going to be equal to response dot JSON. So after that, I'm going to print out my data. I'm going to say dot then data will be equal to, I'm going to console.log data, console.log data. So the data we are going to console out is what we have in our views.py. We are going to console this JSON response cats updated if everything goes well. So let's have an error. Let me show you the error. We're going to have a 403 error. That error is as a result of we not having the CXRF token. I'm going to show you how we can get that. So store. So now we're on the store page again. So click on the add to carts. If you watch closely, we're having a 403 error down here, forbidden. That's because there is no CSRF token on this, and we are doing a post request with Django, and we didn't apply CSRF token. You know, if we are using the form, we could simply write CSRF token in the form. This is different. This is not form. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to simply, in Django provides a way we are going to use CXRF token when we are using JavaScript or Ajax. This is in the documentation. It's over here. When you are using Ajax or JavaScript, this is the way you're going to use your CSRF token. Simply copy this, copy, and paste it in your base templates. In the head section, just here, Ctrl V. So we've pasted it in our base templates where I created the script tag in the head section. So after we've done this, now go back to your car.js. We're going to place that CSRF token in the headers just after the content type. We're going to do this. Simply say x slash CXRF token should be equal to CXRF token. CXRF token. So save. So that's it now. So save your work and let's see. Get back to the browser and let's hope there's no problem. Refresh the page. So add to cart again. Oh, we are saying okay. Say CXRF token is not defined. It seems I didn't save my base.html. So save. Save again and go back to the browser. Refresh the page. Add to cart. Perfect. You can see we having the JSON response cart updated. That shows that our data has been sent to the backend, has been sent to this view. We are getting this JSON response cart updated. If you watch closely, we're having cart. I'm going to click again. We're having the cart updated. That means we have been able to send the ID of the products down to the backend. That's good. So next, now what we need to do now, we're going to go down to that back end, to that view. So you're going to get the data. We're going to simply do this. Data should be equal to, I'm going to say JSON. I'm going to convert that object back to JSON. JSON.load requests.data. So save. Now I'm going to import JSON. Make sure you import it. Import JSON. So I want to get the product ID. So Tumblr here, I'm going to get the product ID. You know, I sent the ID to the backend should be equal to data. Oh, I called it something. It's called it's called product ID. It's going to be equal to data square brackets the product ID that is the one that is highlighted here. Product ID. So that's it now. So after I've done this, we'll do something for the action. Action, we're going to be equal to data also square bracket action paste. So now I'm going to get the product by this ID. We're going to simply say product. So now we're going to say product should be equal to products dot objects dot get ID equal to product ID. Understand the product, this is the ID we sent to the backend, so we are now trying to get the object by that ID. So after we've done this, now we're going to get our cart again. We're going to not just cart, we need to also declare our customer. We're going to say customer should be equal to requests dot user dot customer. This is the logged in customer. We're going to get the cats created. So I'll simply copy the one I have up here to save time. So I'm going to get the cards like this. We either create or retrieve the cards as I explained in the last video. So I'm going to paste it here. We either create or retrieve the cards as I said in the last video. So we've gotten the card. Now we're also going to get the cart items the same way we got the cards. Instead, I'm going to say cart items. It's going to be created equal to cart items dot object.get or create cats, where cats, which is this cat is one of the attributes of the cat item, and it's going to be equal to the cats we just created here. And products is an attribute of cats. It's going to be equal to the products we have here, down here. So I'm going to put this product on top. So that's all we need to do now. So what we need to do next is, so now I'm going to explain this again. You can see I got my cats. This simply helps to create a cat or get or retrieve a cat if a cat exists for a particular logged in customer. For example, our logged in customer has an already existing cat. So it's going to get the cat. But when the customer does not have a cat, it's going to create a cat. You can see it says get or create for the logged in customer that has not been checked out, that has not been completed, which is still false. That same thing occurs for our cart items. Understand? So we are trying to get cart items by the products we have here. Understand? If the product, just like this, cart items of object dot get or create for the particular carts that we have, and the products is going to be the products we assigned here. So you're going to simply put in an if statement. Understand? I said if action. If you remember, I added an action attribute, which is this, which is it has a value of add. So now I'm going to do this now. I'm going to simply say if actions is equal to add. I want to simply increase the quantity of the cart item. Understand? I'm going to simply increase the quantity of the cart item. So I'm going to simply say cart items. Now I'm going to say cart item. So I'm going to call this cart item or not item. We are getting the item individually. I'm going to say cart item dot quantity should be added. One should be added to the quantity plus equal to 1. I'm going to simply say cart item dot save. So that's it now. So let's see, get down to our browser. So refresh the page. So I think you can add to carts now. So just simply say add to carts, or we need to add a reload function whenever you click on the button. That will make sure it works. Okay, I'm going to add reload function just here. Whenever I click on the button, I need to add a reload function. I'm going to simply say location dot, or we can simply add it down here. No, well, let's add it where we wanted to add it before. Location dot reload. This helps to reload the page. So now refresh the page. So add to carts. So let's go down to our carts page. Enter. Perfect. You can see we have some items in the cart. We're not sure if the item is coming from the phone. So what I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to clear all the items I have in the database right now. So I'm going to clear all the carts items. So I want to be sure if what we did is working. So let's see. Let's get back to the store page. So I'm going to add the URL for the home page and the store page and the cart page rather. So let's add them than typing those stuff. Let's say URL should be equal to store. And copy this, Ctrl C, paste here, Ctrl V, and change this to cats. Not here, not there, not there. Sorry for the error. It's going to be pasted here for the cat container. It's going to be here. Change this to cats. Cats. So save and refresh. So go back to the home page. Okay, let's add to carts. Go to the cart page, click here. Oh, the item is not showing. We are not having any error per se. So what's the problem? You see, we added to carts, but we didn't have any item here. The error should be from our code. So I'm going to check where the error is coming from. Let's see our views.py. I'm going to scroll down to the update carts. Okay, the error is from here. You can see the error says request.data. It's be request.body. The body, you can see it's called body from the card, just request.body and not data. So I'm going to change that to request.body. So that's the data we are getting from the fetch URL, from the fetch API. So save now. I'm going to add that location, reload back. So let's see, go back to the home page. So we're going to add an item to cart. Let's add the green shoe. Add to cart. We hope it gets added. Get to the cart page. Perfect. You can see we have the green shoe there. So if we had the green shoe one more time, it's going to increase the quantity. So get to the cart page. The quantity is now 2. That's as a result. That's because of what we did here from my views.py. So I said here, if action is equal to hard, the cat item.quantity should have 1 added to it. You have +1 added to it. Understand? You get it? Because here we are saying cat items.objects.get or create. If the cat item exists, it's only just gonna get it. But we need to add the quantity. If we keep on adding that same item, we need to add the quantity. That's why we have to add the action equal to add. So because as we adding the quantity, as we are adding that same item, it has an action equal to add. That's why I have to come here and say if action is equal to add, simply increase the cat quantity by 1. So I think we are through with this section, and the next section what we want to do is this. Whenever we update the price, the quantity here, want the cat total to also get updated by the product of the price and the quantity. Understand? So let's do that right now. What I want to do next is this. I want to work on this quantity field, whereby if we increase the quantity, it's going to also update the total price and the total we have here. You understand? So I'm going to pick up the quantity field. For example, I'm going to pick up all the quantity field we have on this page. So I'm going to go down to my cat.html, and here's the quantity field. I'll show you. It's over here. This is the quantity field we have here. Okay, so I'm going to give this quantity, I'm going to give it a class of quantity. So I'm going to pick it through this class of quantity. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my cat.js again and do something similar. I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to simply say let's quantity field. I want to send the value of the quantity field to the backend whenever the value changes. Understand? So let's do that. So let's quantity field be equal to document dot get element by class name quantity. I give it the class name of quantity. So I'm going to loop through it again where I did for the first one. I'm going to do the same thing for let I equal to 0, I is less than quantity field dot length I plus plus. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say quantity field I dot add event listener. I'm going to add a change event, not a click this time. Whenever the value changes, instead I want to send that value to the backend, I'm going to add a change event. Okay, I'm going to call this function. I'm not going to call any function here. Sorry, we are going to call a function, don't mind me. I'm going to say function. Okay, what I want to do is this. I want to get the value of the quantity field, right? I want to get the value. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to simply say quantity field I. I'm going to say quantity. I'm going to declare a variable called quantity field value. Quantity field value. Let's quantity field value equal to this. V dot value. Understand? This is a variable I declared. I'm having an error. Okay, the error comes from me not spelling my function properly. So the line has left. So this is I declared a variable called quantity field value, and it holds the value of our quantity field, which is the two or the one we have here. Understand? So quantity field I refers to the individual fields. We have the individual fields, and dot value is pointing at the value inside of the fields. Understand? So after doing this, I want to also get the particular product, the name of the product associated with a particular quantity field. I want to get the particular product associated with a particular quantity field. So how am I going to do this? Go down to our cat.html. So here's our quantity field, this input type. Watch closely. So this input type has a parent called TD, this TD, and the TD also has a parent TR. Understand? So I want to access the grandparent of this quantity field. The parent of the quantity field is TD, the grandparent is TR. So let's access it first. Okay, get down to the cat.js. I'm going to simply say I'm going to call this value, let's quantity field products going to be equal to quantity field I dot parent element dot parent element. So this is the grandparent. So I've gained access to the grandparent of the quantity field. Where is it again? I'm gonna scroll down. Okay, I've gained access to the grandparent, which is this TR. That dot parent element refers to the grandparent. So now I want to get the second child of the grandparent elements, the second child, which is this TD we have here. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to simply say, where's the cat.js? Simply say dot children square brackets 1, whereby 0 is the first child, 1 is the second child. Okay, after that, I've gained access to the child, to the first child, to the second child of the grandparents elements. Understand? I've gotten it. So after that, now I'm going to go into, I also want to get this h3. So I'm going to simply say, I'm going to simply put another children again. Where am I working on? Cat.js. I'm going to simply say dot children 0. So as I said earlier, I'm going to explain this again. The children one, as I said earlier, also I'm trying to get the grandparents of our quantity field, which is this TR. So from there, I tried getting the second child of the grandparents, which is TD. So now I want to get the first child of the second child of the grandparents. I want to get the first child, which is H3. So I have to say, well, you have to say dot children, zero, the first child. So I'm going to get the value of the first child. The value of the first child is the product name. Understand? I'm going to simply say dot inner text, dot inner text. So now I've gotten the value, which is the name of the product associated with the particular quantity field. So now I'm going to simply create a view that I'm going to pass this data to. I'm trying to send the quantity. I'm trying to send the value of the quantity field and the products associated with a particular quantity field to the backend. So I'm going to create the view for the. I'm going to create the view. I'm going to send these values to. Alright, let's create the view where I'm going to pass the data to. So I'm going to simply call this update quantity def. Let's say update, simply updates quantity, say requests. I'm going to return a JSON response also. I'm going to call this quantity updated, quantity updated. Okay, I'm going to create a URL mapping for this. Copy this function to C, my views.py, my urls.py. So it will be called update quantity now. The function is going to be called this. Copy, no, Ctrl Z. It's going to be called quantity update quantity, and this will be called what I have here, Ctrl V. So save now. So get out the car.js back again. Okay, before I proceed, I need to confirm if this thing is if what I did here is correct. So I'm going to console.log quantity field products, console.log quantity field products. So whenever I change the value, whenever I click on any of these, so whenever I click on this on the first input field, I should get green shoe in the console. So let's get the console. Click on console. So I'm going to increase this. So refresh the page. So try it again. Perfect. You can see I'm getting green shoe, which is associated with the quantity field. I'm try for the second one. We should have hamburger. Nice. You can see having hamburger. That's good. So now let's continue. So what we need to do next is this. So let's send the quantity field value and the quantity field products to the backend. So we're going to simply do the same thing we did up there. We're going to simply say let URL equal to slash updates quantity. Okay, after I've done this, now I'm going to fetch this URL fetch. Fetch URL. Okay, I'm going to simply put in the method as we did the first time. Method. It's going to be a post method. Okay, after this, I'm going to do what's called the headers. I'm going to have content type, application, slash JSON, and the CSRF token is going to be equal to CXRF token. So put your comma here. We're going to have the body. So the body now is going to be the quantity field value and the quantity field product. So I'm going to simply do that now. I'm going to simply say Q for the quantity field value. I'm going to simply abbreviate it to QFV. QFV. QFV is going to be equal to the quantity field value and QFP, the quantity field products. So that's it. So we're having an error, but I don't know where the error is coming from. Okay, the error is from me. I should have added a semicolon in between. Okay, I think the error has disappeared. So now I'm going to stringify this because we need to pass a string and not an object to the backend. So let's stringify. JSON.stringify. No, JSON.stringify. So save. So after doing this, now we're going to return a promise. Then we're going to have this return. We're going to convert the string back to a JSON data. Simply say response.json, and we're going to return the actual data we have in the views.py, which is quantity updated. So let's do that. Ctrl C. I'm going to change this to data, and it's going to be called console.log data. I'm going to console.log the data. So save. So now let's see if everything is working. So we're going to go down to our browser now. Whenever we click on this, we should have quantity updated in the console. That shows that everything is working fine. So click. Oh, we're having an error. The error should, what was the error saying? It say update quantity not found. Oh, I made a mistake again. It's not capital Q, it is small q and not capital Q. So save, refresh. Yeah, try updating. You should have quantity updated. Perfect. That means our data has been sent to the view without any problem. So now what we need to do is this. We need to get onto our views.py, the view we created. Okay, and we need to bring the data over. You're going to say data. We're going to do the same JSON.loads equal to JSON.loads request.body. So now I'm going to get the quantity value, the quantity field. I'm going to declare a variable called quantity field. It should be equal to data square brackets QFV from the card.js. This QFV points to the quantity field value, which we have up here. Okay, QFV I said, so QFV, and for the quantity field products, quantity field products, this becomes, I'm going to call this quantity field value, the value I'm trying to get, not the field, the value, and quantity field products, the product name is going to be equal to, okay, so now I'm going to simply say quantity field product should be equal to data square brackets QFP. Okay, that's it. That's quantity field products. So after I've done this now, I'm going to query the products. I'm going to query the products from the cart items. I'm going to simply say products should be equal to cart items dot objects dot filter products underscore name equal to quantity field products dot last. So I'm trying to get a single filter returns a query set. Understand? So I'm trying to get a single object. So I'm better putting the dot last. I need the dot last. It's better than the dot first. So dot last. So now I've gotten the products associated with a particular. I'm now in my backend in the views now. I've gotten the products associated with a particular quantity field. So now what I want to do now is I want to assign whenever the quantity of a particular product changes by clicking on these buttons, this up and down button. What I want is that I want that quantity to be saved to the back end for the particular product associated with that quantity field. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to simply say product dot quantity should be equal to quantity field value. I'll simply say product.save. So that's it. So I think everything is working now. So I'm going to save my work. So if I get down to I'm going to refresh this page. So now I'm going to increase my hamburger to 5. So I have 5 hamburgers now. So go down to the admin section, check cart items, check hamburger. You see now the hamburger quantity is now 5. Understand? So if I try increasing it from the front end again to 6, just go to the back end, refresh the page, it's now 6. You can see it's working super fine. So for it, we want it to reflect on the front. You see it is still not multiplying correctly. You can see that's because I'm going to add a page reload whenever I click on the button. I'm going to add a page reload. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to go down to my card.js and just here I can simply say location dot reload and let's see, refresh the page. You can see now 6 times 12.55 is now 75.30. So I'm going to increase this. You can see it's having 63. Yeah, so I'm going to increase it to 7. Oh, it did not work. Why? I don't know why the browser. You can see it works now. So let's try to 8 again. Wow, you see it's working. Let's reduce it back to 7. Nice, it's working. So what I want to do next is that I want to like add the quantity, the number of items we have in the cart. I want to make sure it reflects up here. Understand? So now from my models.py, if you follow from the beginning, remember I did something here. Models.py, under the carts model, I defined the function which says get item total. This helps to get the total number of items we have in the cart. Understand? And it's under the carts model. So what I'll simply do is this. I'm going to go to my views, to my views.py. Okay. So I need to have these carts in the 3 views. I need to have these carts published in views I have now. So I'm going to simply let's copy all this. I'm going to paste it here. This view, or what am I doing, stuff? Okay, I need to have these cards, so I need to just copy this if requests copy it and paste up here. Let's paste it here. Control X. So that's it. Now we're going to pass the cat to the context. We're going to say cats. It's going to be equal to cats. So save, and we're going to go down to our, what's the name again, base.html, where the cats icon is. Scroll down here. We're going to do this, okay, just here. I'm going to put in that cats. Let's see, cats dot get. You see, I can't remember, is it item total? Let's see the models, which is item total. Okay, it's item total. So on the page HTML, we need to just pass that there, item total, because the cards we have now, the cards we have has been passed to our store.html and the cards.html, and they are both inheriting the base template. So the base template can get from the store.html if we are on the store.html page. For example, now let's see, refresh. You can see now we have the number of cart items here. If I come down to my home page and try to add items, the cart gets updated. So add item. Oh, it didn't work. But it should work. It should certainly work. So let's try let's add the green shoe. The cart should get updated. You can see we have 15 items there. Let's add the t-shirts. I don't know why. You can see it's now 16. Okay, now what I want to do next is this. I want to make sure that whenever our cart gets to 0 quantity, I want to make sure it leaves the cart. Understand? Whenever it gets to 0 quantity, you want to make sure the item leave the cart. So that will be in our views, in our models.py. So we're gonna come down to this get item total, which helps to return the sum of the quantity we have in the cart. So I'm going to say that if any of, oh, I don't think it should not be in the, it should not be here. It should be in the cart item model. Maybe we are going to create a new, function. So let's do that. Control C. So we're going to call this dev gets quantity. So what I want to do is this. I want to say I want to get the quantity of a particular item. Understand? So I'm going to simply say quantity. Okay, rather than creating a new function, I think we can use this get total function altogether. So you can see we say get total, right? And this is our get total here. This last column we have here, you understand? So let's do something now. So I'm going to simply say if. So I'm going to simply do this now. If total is equal to 0.00, so I'm trying to say that if our total price is equal to 0.00, that means the quantity is equal to 0, understand? So if total is equal to 0, I'm going to simply say self.delete. So save now. Let's go back there, refresh the page. So the page is loading. Perfect. You can see it has been deleted. So let's try adding some items to the cart. Add again. Okay, get down to the cart page. First closely, we can increase the quantity. Total gets updated. You can remove this. Boom, it's out of the cart. Nice. So everything is working fine. So what we need to do next is that we need to put in the name of the logged in user up here. So that's not the cut. So come down to the base.html. Remember I get the script tag and place the name of the place the user here. I said let's user equal to requests dot user. So I'm going to scroll down to the nav bar and look for where I have that hello user. It should be somewhere around here. Okay, it's here. So I'll simply put in that user. Simply say user. So save. Hope it works. Refresh the page. Perfect. You can see we have hello clients, the logged in user. Okay, so we've come to the end of this add to cart tutorial with Django in our e-commerce website. So in the next video, we're going to work on payments, whereby user can check out and make make payments instead using PayPal. So that'll be in the next video. So if you like this video, why not subscribe to my channel as we'll meet in the next video.